Imagine stepping into a grand Renaissance hall, sunlight spilling across massive canvases where gods, kings, and mythic beasts seem frozen in time. But here's the secret. While most viewers admire the brushstrokes, the colors, and the religious themes, a handful of people, artists, scholars, and seekers of hidden knowledge, saw something very different. They saw code, they saw alchemy, they saw symbols whispering secrets about transformation, immortality, and the mysteries of the cosmos. And today, we're going to dive straight into this world of cryptic images and secret knowledge, the hidden alchemical symbols embedded in Renaissance paintings. Now, alchemy wasn't just about men in smoky laboratories trying to turn lead into gold, though that's the most famous image. Alchemy was a grand philosophy of transformation, of matter, of the soul, of the world itself. And during the Renaissance, art was one of the most powerful tools to transmit ideas. Remember, books could be banned, words could be censored, but a painting could hang in a church, a palace, or a private study, quietly concealing a treasure map of hidden meanings. Take, for example, the paintings of Hieronymus Bosch. At first glance, his works like the Garden of Earthly Delights seem like bizarre dreamscapes, strange fruit, half-human creatures, surreal landscapes. But many art historians argue that these are not just nightmares on canvas. They are filled with alchemical references, eggs symbolizing rebirth, fountains representing the philosopher's stone, and vessels that hint at the alchemist's flask. To the casual eye, chaos. To the initiated, a coded manual on spiritual transformation. Or consider Sandro Botticelli's Primavera. It's often celebrated as a poetic ode to spring and love, with Venus at the center surrounded by mythological figures. But look closer, the garden is filled with over 500 species of plants, many of them with medicinal and alchemical associations. Mercury, standing to one side with his caduceus, isn't just dispersing clouds, he's symbolizing purification, the separation of the volatile from the fixed. The dance of the three graces, perhaps a hint at the stages of alchemical transformation. Nigredo, albedo, rubedo, the blackening, whitening, and reddening process that leads to the philosopher's stone. What's fascinating is that artists of the Renaissance were not just painters, they were thinkers. Leonardo da Vinci, for instance, dissected bodies, studied nature, experimented with materials, and filled notebooks with cryptic diagrams. While not a practicing alchemist in the sense of endless lab work, his fascination with transformation, balance, and hidden forces was deeply aligned with alchemical thought. Some scholars believe that in his works, like The Last Supper, the very arrangement of figures and the play of light may contain symbolic echoes of alchemical philosophy. Now, you might ask, why hide these messages at all? Why not write them down openly? The answer lies in power. During the Renaissance, knowledge was dangerous. The church held authority over spiritual truths. To openly speak of alchemy as a path to divine wisdom, rather than mere chemistry, could lead to accusations of heresy. So, artists and patrons who were drawn to esoteric knowledge used paintings as a safe code. The images could be enjoyed as beautiful works of art, while quietly whispering deeper truths to those who knew how to see. Another powerful example comes from the works of Albrecht Dürer. His engraving Melancholia has fascinated scholars for centuries. At first, it seems like a portrait of melancholy, a brooding winged figure surrounded by tools. But for those who look closer, it's filled with alchemical symbolism. The magic square, the hourglass, the geometric shapes, even the strange polyhedron. All of these are symbols tied to alchemical practice and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. The winged figure herself, perhaps the alchemist's soul, weighed down by the burden of secrets too great to share. One of the most intriguing aspects of alchemical symbolism in art is how universal many of these images are. The egg, the serpent, the sun and moon, the king and queen. These are symbols you'll find again and again across different artworks, different regions, even different centuries. An egg wasn't just breakfast, it was creation itself, the vessel of transformation. The serpent biting its tail, the Ouroboros, wasn't just decoration, it was eternity, the cycle of death and rebirth. And when a king and queen embrace in a painting, it could be more than a royal wedding. It might be the sacred alchemical union of opposites, the coniunctio, where masculine and feminine energies merge to produce the philosopher's stone. Let's not forget that patrons themselves, wealthy nobles, merchants, or even secret societies, often commission works filled with this kind of hidden code. Imagine a Medici prince in Florence, gazing at a canvas that for everyone else was a charming mythological scene, but for him was a coded lesson in the path to enlightenment. These weren't just decorations, they were tools of initiation, reminders of hidden quests. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. Some scholars believe that entire cycles of paintings, like frescoes in palaces or chapels, were designed as alchemical journeys. You wouldn't just look at a single painting, but move from one wall to another, one chamber to another, as though you were walking through the stages of transformation itself. Nigredo, the darkness, might be shown in chaotic or violent images. Albedo, the whitening, might appear as serene, luminous scenes. And finally, rubedo, the reddening, might blaze forth in triumphant, radiant colors. In this way, the viewer wasn't just seeing art, they were experiencing an initiation into the mysteries. Of course, skepticism exists. Not every egg, not every fountain, not every strange detail is proof of alchemy. Some are just eggs, some are just fountains. But what makes this mystery so compelling is that Renaissance artists were known for layering meanings. A painting could be sacred and political, personal and esoteric, all at once. To insist there is no alchemical meaning is to underestimate just how intellectually rich these works were, and how deeply the Renaissance mind loved the play of symbol and secret. Another masterpiece worth mentioning is the Allegory of Alchemy attributed to 16th century Flemish painters. Here, the figures of Saturn, Mercury, and other planetary gods mingle with symbolic tools, fires, and vessels. At first, it looks like a fantastical mythological scene, but to an initiate, it was practically a diagram of laboratory work, spiritual aspiration, and cosmic harmony rolled into one. So how can we, today, unlock these secrets? First, by learning the language of symbols. When you see a sun and moon together, think of opposites seeking unity. When you see vessels, think of transformation. When you see birds ascending, think of spirit rising from matter. Second, by considering context. Who was the artist? Who was the patron? Where did the painting hang? Each answer can help decode whether a work was just decorative or something more profound. And finally, by allowing ourselves to feel the pull of mystery, because that's what makes these works so alive. They aren't just pigment on canvas, they're puzzles, they're invitations, they're whispers from another time, telling us that knowledge was never meant to be handed out easily. It was meant to be sought, uncovered, and transformed, just like lead into gold. So next time you stand in front of a Renaissance painting, whether in Florence, Madrid, or the hushed galleries of the Louvre, don't just admire the beauty, look deeper. Ask yourself, is that a simple flower, or a symbol of transformation? Is that a playful myth, or a coded lesson in eternity? Remember that behind the brushstrokes lies a world of hidden knowledge, waiting for the eye that dares to see. And maybe, just maybe, in those symbols, we'll discover that the greatest philosopher's stone was never about gold at all, but about awakening the golden light within ourselves. If you enjoyed watching, be sure to hit that like button. It truly makes a difference for the channel. Pass this video along to a friend who enjoys a great mystery. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that so you don't miss what's coming next. There's still so much to explore, and I'd love to have you join me for it.